Taken aim specifically at Muslims, stating they are the least able to assimilate and integrate into Australian society and other countries, and you've labelled them welfare bludgers and criminals. What evidence is that based on?
Just statistics. Over 50% of the working age Muslims in this country today aren't working. They're overrepresented in illegal activity. So, yeah, statistics are what I base my comments on.
Where do you get those statistics from?
ABS is a good place.
And just if you could again, 50% you say?
51% I think it is, Georgie, yes.
Do you know any Muslims?
I've met a few, yes.
And what's been your impression?
You know, the odd ones are good and the odd ones are bad. So, you know, I personally... I think that we can't take the risk of bringing people into this country that commit crimes like the Burke Street massacre or the one that we just saw in London today. I think that we've got to protect Australian citizens, and all I'm calling for is a plebiscite and a vote for the Australian people to see who they want to come into the country, and let the Australian people decide who comes into this country.
As you know, with any cultural group, there's good and bad, and I would argue that the vast majority of Muslims are hard-working, decent, law-abiding citizens. You don't agree?
I don't disagree with that. What I would say, though, and as you've just said now, there are a certain percentage that aren't.
So
and
why target Muslims?
That mean us harm. And if 5% of them aren't good people who want to integrate and work with us in Australia, and we'd bring in another 1,000, that means there's another 50 here that want to kill us. So I don't want those people in this country. And I think the vast majority of Australians agree with me, but no one wants to put it to a vote.
Senator, sorry, I'm just confused as to why you target Muslims.
Well, have you seen the news? Have you seen what's happened in the United Kingdom, in France, in Germany, for instance? You know, with the riots and the affray. Have you seen the Apex gangs in Melbourne, for instance? Or is that, have you avoided that? A lot of people like to try and pretend it's not happening, but the fact is it is happening, and people are being murdered by these people. And I personally think that our Australian government's job is to protect Australian people, not bring people into this country that don't assimilate as well as others and that mean us harm.
I guess what's been particularly offensive is using the term final solution, a term, of course, used in relation to the mass killing of Jews in Nazi Germany. How is that sort of language helpful? I mean, did you intend to be racist and hateful?
I didn't even think about that, Georgie, funnily enough. I wrote a speech that said, and it was completely taken out of context, and I know that Mr Frydenberg earlier on had a go at me on that, but the fact is, all I said was the final solution to the immigration problem is a vote of the Australian people. That has nothing to do with the final solution. The thought police got onto that, but everyone knows I had a motion last sitting that called for the foreign minister to stop sending money to the Palestinian Authority, who use it for pay to slay, to kill Israelis. Now, the Greens and the Labor Party both voted against that motion. So I'm a strong supporter of the Jewish community and always have been, and they know that. So for everyone to take this out of context is just a joke and try and shut down debate.
Well, it's far from a joke. And now knowing that that term final solution was used in relation to the era of Hitler, and the mass killing of Jews, would you like to use this platform now to apologise to any offence you might have caused?
Absolutely not. I can use... Good men died for our right to say whatever we wanted to say and use whatever words we want to use. If people want to take it out of context, that's entirely up to them. But it was never meant to denigrate the Jewish community. And it's two words, and if that offends anyone, unfortunately, that's the way it has to be.
So do you regret then using such divisive, inflammatory
language?
No,
I don't regret anything, Georgie. I'm not going to apologise or regret anything that I say.
You say Australia's on the brink of irreversible change if citizens fail to, quote, rise up and unleash a cultural counter-revolution. What are you suggesting we do?
Well, we've got to get over this political correctness, the Marxist bloody march towards another communist state or another socialist state. You know, Australia used to have freedoms. We don't have any freedoms anymore. We've lost our freedom of speech. You can be prosecuted for what you say now, which is a madness. We need a free Australia again.
There is currently a very constructive debate going on right across the country about our immigration intake and whether we have the infrastructure in place that's adequate to cater for the numbers coming in. Do you think your maiden speech distracts from that very constructive discussion?
Well, the discussion's not getting much done. We're being flooded by immigrants. Our infrastructure isn't keeping up. We need to be concentrating on doing things like infrastructure building projects and getting people back to work. We haven't built a dam in 40 years, so you know, eventually we're going to run out of water. Our cities are congested, and we're continually bringing more and more people into the country. We cannot continue to do it.
And that is a discussion that you're absolutely right we have to have. So, therefore, I wonder if you regret making such inflammatory comments in that maiden speech, because, of course, they're now being likened to Pauline Hanson's maiden speech back in '96 when she warned that Australia was on the verge of being swamped by Asians.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so what are you saying?
I'm just wondering, does that sit comfortably with you?
No, I'm fine with it. You know, I'm fine with what I said, and I'll stand by it.
All right. We'll leave it there for now. Fraser Anning, thank you very much.